Hey guys, what's up? So, I told you at the unboxing video that I'd be bringing you a full review of this headset. This is the HyperX Cloud. It's kind of brought to you both by Kingston and QPad. So at this year's CES, what happened is Kingston had their little booth and they announced that they were going to make the HyperX branding that they've had on their previous memory RAM sticks and stuff and spin it off sort of its own company without the Kingston name on it anymore. They were going to mostly gear this towards gamers, and some of the stuff that they were starting with, they started with some RAM called the HyperX Fury, which actually a friend of mine, Grant's using in his new system and he has no complaints as of yet. Um, and then they were going to have an SSD that they were going to call Fury, and then they were going to bring these out next, and this is the headset. This is kind of working in conjunction with them and QPad, and they're calling it the Cloud. So the idea with these and the promise of these is that they were supposed to be lightweight, and you're supposed to be able to game with them for hours and hours on end without any discomfort. So as far as like these things go, they are basically they co-developed them with QPad. They've added some of their own modifications. Apparently, they've added a certain type of memory foam into the top band and the ear pads that is heat activated, sort of like you would see in Tempur-Pedic mattresses. Um, and of course, because they're working with QPad, QPad in turn works with Beyerdynamic, which is a headphone audio company. And so the styling of the headphones, if you've ever seen Beyerdynamic headphones before, is very, very similar. These use 53 millimeter drivers that are powered at 60 ohms, and those are of course from Beyerdynamic. And then it has this microphone, which I'm using for the entire review here. It's a detachable condenser mic on a gooseneck, and it's got a little pop filter here. So when I first opened it up, when I first got the box actually, which I have right here, this box just kind of looked like your ordinary box, and I kind of expected like the milk crate packaging, like I've seen like on a lot of other, or egg carton packaging, I should say, that I've seen on a lot of other headsets, just like cheap on the inside. But this is like when you open it up, like the box on the inside of you guys seen in the unboxing, it's got like a holographic logo with the HyperX thing on there, and it's really super nice. When they originally were talking about these at CES, they were talking about bringing them to the market for $150, and then they lowered it right at launch, or a lot of places lowered it to $99. So it kind of dropped my expectations in a way of the headset, if that makes any sense. So when I actually got the headset and started unboxing it, I was kind of blown away. But I was also initially worried. They're using like really nice foam. It's in a really nice box with a good presentation, like you would see on something like Astros and stuff. And I might get hammered for this, but I kind of feel like Astros, like a lot of money goes into the packaging and not the headset. This wasn't the case for these. There was nice packaging, but there was also a really good headset on the inside. Of course, it's got like the little thing on the box that, like they're trying to do like the Razer thing where they welcome you to the HyperX family or whatever. And everything had its nice own little neat compartment. So taking them out inside, I found the HyperX headset, the cloud gaming headset. I found a couple adapters. There's an airplane adapter. It was the two mono jacks into one 3.5 millimeter stereo jack. There was a Y splitter for so you could use it like on iPhone, whatever else, like tablets. Macs use a 3-pole 3.5 millimeter jack for both headphone and microphone. And all it does is just a splitter, so you can take the two ends and have it come out of one. There was an extension cable. There's actually a couple in a way. So the wire coming out of the HyperX itself is a 1 meter braided cable. Very nice quality for what it seems like. And then there was this control box on the inside that has the volume, a mute switch, and it's got this button here. So if you hook it up to a iPhone or something like that, you can answer phone calls using this. We'll get back to this in a second. This is another 1 meter cable coming out to my computer, and then it came with, I believe it was a rubberized 2 meter extension cable on top of that. So there's a lot of accessories that came with this, and then it also came with, it had the leather ear pads installed on it, but it had replaceable velour cloth ear pads as well. Let's see, what else am I missing? Oh, and it had a mesh carrying bag, which I've got back here, which is this guy. It's got a little Velcro pouch, and then the main little pouch that you can carry the headset around in. So if you need to go to like tournaments or LAN parties or something like that, which is nice. I'm not complaining, and it seems like it's good quality. It's going to hold up. So the pros and cons I have to say for this, I've got everything listed down here. It does do what they advertise it to say. It does stay comfy for hours. I've played all kinds of games this weekend, or this week I should say. We played some. I played a lot of Insurgency. I played a little bit of Counter Strike. I've been on a Borderlands 2 kick lately. I hopped on with my cousin and played some Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare last night. And gotta say, for the longest stint, um, they have stayed comfy for at least 10 hours. Is the longest I've had. I might have to make like a small adjustment here and there every once in a while, but other than that, it's fine. Part of the reason it's comfortable is, like I said, it's got memory foam in the top and in the sides. And the problem I've had with my Steel series in the past is they're very, very comfortable when you first put them on. But the clamping pressure of them is so tight that the foam in the ear pads, which is, I don't see how they could be memory foam. It's just like regular ear pad foam. Presses down on your skull so hard that I could actually do push-ups in the thing and like headbang if I wanted to. And keep in mind, I've got a slightly bigger head than most people. At least I think so. So it seems like maybe they're being stretched and compressed to a point that was like really uncomfortable for me. Once the ear pads kind of like flattened out after a few hours, if I took them off and put them back on like 15 minutes later, I was still in the same boat because it takes the foam a really long time to come back into shape. With these, I could like take a 5-10 minute break, take them off. The foam reseats itself right back to where it was, put them back on, and they feel like I just put them on again. The other thing that really bugs me about a lot of gaming headsets or headphones even is a lot of times where the driver is, they have that thin piece of cloth. They have all the padding here. They have a thin piece of cloth on the to cover up the driver, but there's just hard plastic behind it. And my ears always, always hit the sides of where the drivers are. And that's the main source of my discomfort, because in my ears I have some folds that protrude out quite a bit and hit that. They were smart enough to put like a small pad in between the drivers and your ears. So it's not bad enough to where it's doing anything to the sound, but it makes the headphone fit a lot more comfortable. But matter of fact, when I first put these on, I swore that my ears weren't even touching the ends. Like it felt that comfortable, but it turns out they are. They're just hitting that pad, and I can't notice any of the plastic there or anything. Let's see. With the leather ear pads right off the bat that come out of the box, it has a very good sound isolation. So they don't announce these to be noise canceling, but it's pretty dang close. Like I can still hear some outside noises here and there, but it's not ever really that terrible. Like to where I can't, I honestly can't distinguish certain sounds. I think I probably talk a little bit higher with these on. But I can still hear some louder stuff like my fan going on right now. Like I got a box fan in the room that I can hear. They have aluminum construction, which makes them lightweight. So the headband underneath is aluminum, and the forks have that very bare dynamic aluminum fork going on with a similar sliding mechanism. It's just like these forks are separate, and then there's this plastic tension system here where it's screwed on with a mechanism to click them up and down for adjustment. Sound quality, really, quite honestly, is when you compare it to any gaming headset on the market, it's quite literally the best sounding headset I've ever heard. When you compare it to high audio grade headphones, it's around $150 audio grade headphones in my opinion, around 120, 150 in my opinion. There are a few companies out there that I think maybe their audio quality on their audio headphones might be slightly better for less money, but then I get into the problem where I have a comfort issue again, because typically then they sound great but they don't feel good after a while. Now the one thing I will say, like a lot of devices, like say your iPods, PlayStation Vita, which I tested these in, might not have enough power to fully drive the drivers inside here. They are bare dynamic drivers, and that's part of the reason I kind of say that these are probably, without question, really the best sounding headset. But when I plugged these into like a portable device, and I plugged in my SteelSeries, there's still a gambit where the sound level was a little bit better than I would say the SteelSeries, but it was far less. So to get the full audio experience, you need to have a good like onboard motherboard driver, something like an MSI gaming motherboard, or even new ASUS motherboards that have the Crystal Sound have an onboard amplifier that can power something like this at 60 ohms. If you don't have that, the sound is still good. It just doesn't fill in like the bass and the highs and the mids. There's like a little bit of extra separation that goes on between those with the 60 ohms that you don't get without it. Let's see. The soundstage for Closeback was one thing I wanted to talk about. So playing Insurgency, to be fair, that game has binaural sound, so it's kind of not a fair comparison. It's got a soundtrack that's specifically made for stereo headphones. Um, but the sound staging was still good. I could still hear people left and right of me. Stuff that was a little bit more not really considered, like let's say Titanfall's another game I played this week with these on. I could still pinpoint when somebody was off to my left and right, but I couldn't really pinpoint when they were ahead of me and behind me. If that's one thing I'd have to say about them, maybe the sound staging isn't. They don't have as quite an open sound stage, but for a closed back headphone, it's still actually surprisingly really good. I was expecting pretty much the worst from experiences I've had with other closed back headphones. Microphone, I think, sounds pretty decent. I've got it turned up right now because apparently, if I didn't, the software I'm using to capture this is gonna have a hard time picking it up for whatever reason. So I've still got to do some adjustments to that and figure it out. But once I get that dialed in, it should be okay. The stuff I've heard is pretty much fine. There's a slight hiss. That might be because I'm plugged into the front jack right now. I've tried it with the rear jacks, and it just happens to be this capture software I have right now seems to be the only thing that's doing with. Everything else, when I'm on Steam Chat or whatever, nobody else says there's a problem with it. The one thing I will say is the microphone is directional. It's a directional condenser mic, so if you point it away, you're going to have a harder time hearing somebody. Or you'll get claims like the audio quality isn't as good. But with it right there, I think it sounds fine. It sounds as good as any other gaming headset I've heard. That's another thing I'd just kind of like to bring up. You can get a decent pair of audio headphones and then add a mod mic and then get better quality from both. But the thing for me is I don't think you have to spend a lot of money in the audio headphone area to get like comfortable headphones that you can keep on your head for hours and hours. And I have a problem with mod mics and headphones because it is important for me to just have one cable coming out. I don't like having multiple cables all over the place. All the plastics on it have this nice rubberized feel, so there's something that's either adhered or sprayed onto the plastic. So I don't know how to describe it. Like everything from the control box to the inside of the ear cups to the top plastic part right here, as you can see. This all has like this really nice, like high quality, soft rubberized feel to it that I've not really I've run into soft rubberized feels before on like gaming mice and stuff, but this is really well done. I'm really impressed with what they did here, and it just like adds like a little extra touch to the fit and finish of it. Control box, the volume smooths. Roller is really smooth. I've had these before where I'll get them out of the box and it's really super stiff until you break it in. Still, my SteelSeries, it's only like loosened up right in the area where I'm kind of like adjusting my microphone headphone settings all the time. But yeah, so this thing is surprisingly good right out of the box. It looks a little bit cheaper in some ways, but it works fine. Let's see. Headset drivers, fine on standard output. Yeah, I kind of mentioned that. And this has a 2-year warranty. So for the cons, I'd have to say you need to have a good output. So most motherboards, even if they don't announce that they have a headphone amplifier output, can typically drive stuff to like 120 ohms or up pretty well. If you we're getting into like really super cheap motherboards below like $80, then it might be a problem. But my motherboard, it was like $100 motherboard when I got it, and it's got a Realtek ALC 892, and it does have a mild headphone amp, I would say. So 60 ohms isn't a problem for it. It drives it just fine. Sound isolation with the cloth cups. We need to talk about the cloth ear pads. So I tried them. I typically don't like velour because when it's on my skin for a while, it gets itchy. It's almost like wool to me. Like some people just get itchy with wool. I just don't like velour ear cups that much, especially when like dry skin and stuff starts getting in them. And it's a pain in the ass to clean them, so I just typically don't like them. The thing I did notice is when you put them in, where you have sound isolation with these, your ears aren't able to breathe as well with the leather ear cups, where they breathe a lot better with the cloth ear pads. The one thing I will say about the cloth ear pads is that although your ears breathe a lot better, it changes the sound signature of the headphones. Not a lot, but a bit. So, like your highs and your mids can go from anywhere just to like are a lot more noticeable and separated from the bass. The bass is a little bit more non-existent. Um, your sound isolation is pretty much gone. You're going to hear everything just as well. I can hear everything in the room with the cloth ear pads as well as I could with open back headphones. Um, they are a tad bit cushier, so they push off your head a little bit more. So you don't have like the full pressure of the headset like on your ears like you do with the leather ones. It seems like the leather ones have a tad bit less cushioning, or at least they do in my case. With the control box, now this one is I'm putting it in the cons, but it's really not to me. But it's still worth mentioning. When I had the headset directly plugged into the headphone jack, or had the extension cable and then directly to this instead of the control box, um, which is the way I tend not to use it, because if you have media controls on your keyboard, which I do, it's not that big of a deal, but I'd just rather use the rocker. I did notice the max. I just was playing around with everything I could. I set the volume on maximum on my audio out of the PC. I plugged the jacks in, and I just like wanted to hear how loud the headphones could get. When I plugged them in and set it to max audio on the control box, I noticed the control box is taking a little bit of the power away. The max volume is a little bit subdued by maybe like, it's not a whole lot. It's maybe like a decibel or two. It's probably not even that, but it does reduce. There's something going on in this box, or at least with mine, that is reducing the output ever so slightly. Yeah, no open back version. So there's a version of these that QPad makes called the QH85s, and they do have a grill instead of a complete cover. Headphone adjustment system is a little bit loose. I understand why it's loose, because it's a friction-based system. So if you make it too tight, then the system that you're using for the friction base will wear out quicker, and then you won't have an adjustment at all. Um, and there's no folding ear cups. So, some people like to put them on and take a rest and fold them down. I just put them on my desk. I have a big enough desk. It's not a big deal to me, but it was worth mentioning because that's could be a potential series of deal breakers for some people. So that's pretty much my input on it. Other things I like to talk about, I noticed like the actual caps on the end that have the HyperX logo right here. These are actually metal, which kind of surprised me. Typically they're cheap plastic. The metal should be able to help with the soundstage a little bit. So that's something I just kind of like noticed the other day. I wasn't really paying attention to it. The other thing I like about these is because they are based off of Beyerdynamic technology, and QPad is a brand that's been around for a little while. They've been using these for some time. Getting replacement parts for, say, like slider mechanisms and stuff that goes wrong should be a lot easier, because this is the same headband and slider mechanism that Beyerdynamic's been using on their headphones for like 5-6 years at least. Um, they are different than the Q-Pad with the logos. They got HyperX in the top, stitched into the top instead of it. And one thing I want to be clear, because I got these for $70 on Amazon. They're kind of being priced or marketed as $99 instead of the $150 that they said at CES. The leather ear pads are actually that plastic leatherette. So it's like a cloth with like the leather adhered to it. I don't know how they do it, but that's what all the leather is. It's not real leather, so just to be upfront about that. So I think they've about covered everything. Would I get these at $70? Absolutely, hell yeah. These things are ridiculously good for the price. Especially when you take into effect like a set of SteelSeries Siberia V2s, which were my prior favorite as far as like soundstage and stuff goes, are $10 more on Amazon than these things are. They go for sale every once in a while for $40. It depends on how much you wear your headphones, how much comfort you want, but really honestly, the fact that they do stay on your head and are comfortable for like 8, 9, 10 hours at a time, it really only, the only times that you really feel like you need to like maybe make a minor adjustment or something like that, you don't actually have to like, do major breaks for like hours to have the pads like, reform and all that. It takes like a quick 15 minutes and you're done. If you just want what's at a good price and you want something that's feels like it's going to last a good long time, that you might have a way to get good replacement parts for it, I would definitely pick these up for the price. Especially right now at $70, it's pretty much a steal. So okay, and so that's been my review of the HyperX Cloud gaming headsets. And so if you guys like the music that was presented to you today in the video, I'd like to thank Logan over at Tech Syndicate. He's the composer of it, and it's his Zweihander albums, and you can pick them up at Bandcamp or epicpants.com. Just follow the link below, and it'll take you straight there if you want to pick it up. Alright, thanks. See you guys later.